Good afternoon. This is Philip Pandy for week two, discussion two. We're talking about differential learning, formative and summative. Um, so I'm going to speak a little louder because last time I heard it was a little low. Um, so with junior high science, I'm doing single subject. So I'm looking at seventh grade, eighth grade science. I would say that even with differential learning, it's adjusting what you need to know for, in this case, the formative. The formative is I want to find out what they've learned, what they already know. So with that, I would use the GSN, which is the general science expectations for what I'm teaching. So for example, I did my last homework um, on offspring's parents and genes, pretty much. So I'll keep with that since that's what we're working with. Um, I would go ahead and say, based on what they have to learn in regards to offspring's parents um, and traits, I would go ahead and see if this is what the state of California says I need to meet for the expectations. Then I would gear a test that way. I may choose to reword some of it, still utilizing the proper vocabulary for the science terms, because that's the only way that they're going to learn and understand the words. However, I would definitely adjust the way that I ask the questions based on the economic standards and the expectations of the kids in the area. So, for example, like I live in Chino Hills. In this part, um, they tend to be a little bit more exciting or more knowledgeable and educated, and come from some type of means. Where I grew up in West Covina, my schools were in La Puente, not so high area. Um, and at that point in time, it also bilingual area. I mean, I'm Central American. My neighbors to the right were Salvadorian, Puerto Rican across the street. Um, so at the end of the day, you understand that there's a different means and different expectations. So with differential learning, we're sitting there and to not create a bias and say everyone should know this. Um, that test I would create, because it is my classroom and I'm supposed to find out where they are, I want to know where they stand. So I would definitely word it to how they can relate to it. What's your relationship to your grandmother or to your grandparent? Your relationship to your father? You know, your relationship to your siblings. Um, so that would be a part of understanding where they are. So then that way that tells me where I can start for the formative, because I need to know where their base is. And then the summative, which is at the end of the chapter, that one is still something that I can adapt to to the environment that we're in. Hopefully, by the time I get to the end of this section, I've been able to expand their vocabulary, their mindset to understand offspring, parent, genes, so that way we can then increase their vocabulary by the time we get to the end. Um, so yesterday's course we were talking about, it can be a bias of a teacher. Well, it is our responsibility to know who we're teaching best differential learning, um, and at that point in time, we should do what we get paid for. It's a little hard, but adjusting those quizzes to ours, to our environment, because we need them to strive. Um, and to do that, we need to be able to support them. Supporting them doesn't mean dumbing it down. It just means we have to put it in their language so they get the basic, and then add a new vocabulary and words into it so that way we can get them here. Um, and then the summative at the very end is, hey, the state of California says you're supposed to be here. I want you to be here, and we're going to get you there. All this time, the formative, whether it be a test or a quiz, throughout the section to make sure we're increasing our vocabulary on the science level. Um, that's going to get us so that way at the end of it, we can go ahead and when you finish a section and you leave me, I know that you met the needs. Or if you didn't meet the needs, that's something that I'm going to have to work on, or it's something that I'm going to need assistance with figuring out what I messed up with not getting you there. So I believe I answered all the questions. So formative, summative, an example, differential learning, i.e. changing the vocabulary, the statements of how I ask the questions, how I relate the questions to my students, in general for a non-special ed environment. If they do have an IEP or a 504, at that point in time, then yes, we would definitely change how I word it, even a sense of, you know, definitions like this is the word, what does it mean, draw a diagram to it in its relationship to offspring's parents and chromosomes and things such as that. Other than that, I think we covered it all. Examples, bias, and such. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful week. Look forward to listening to yours and talking to you later.